Question for Guy. As Anthony said in the panel, TV is where everything is going to at the moment. So obviously we're bringing Alex Rider to the small screen. What were your inspirations when adapting the novels from some of the recent sort of TV shows like Homeland or something like that? Were there any sort of particular inspirations that helped you with the scripts?
I'm going to be really honest and say no, I didn't go looking for inspirations on the screen for this. I begin this journey very much in the world of the novel, so it's great for me. I get to read a book and be excited by the story and be excited by the people and the characters. And so I was very immersed in that, and I tried fairly consciously not to look outside it too much. Having said that, I mean, I'm a big Stranger Things fan. I'm a big fan of quite a lot of good stuff that's on at the moment, so I suppose there's that awareness that we can do good drama now that crosses some boundaries, is accessible to younger viewers, but is also proper adult viewing that someone like me would sit on the sofa and watch. And that's very heartening because that's what this show is all about, I think.
Thank you.
Hi, I just want to jump on what you said about crossing boundaries. So obviously Alex Rider, was it 10, 15 plus years ago? 2000, right? So obviously with crossing boundaries, especially with what's going on in the world, technology-wise, environmental-wise, politically-wise, and so much stuff going on, how will Alex Rider impact that world, and how will the current world impact Alex Rider's story?
We were very struck by the fact that while we were filming this and talking about, is it really genuinely credible that MI6 would co-opt a teenager and force him to work for them? Story broke in the press of underage children being used by the police as informants within drug gangs. And we just thought, no, actually, we're on point here. This is what's happening. And the urge to get the series grounded, to make it feel gritty and relevant, is really important because, okay, there are adventure stories here. Stuff happens that's quite heightened, that's quite big and epic. And I think that for the audience to buy into that, you have to start from a place where the characters are grounded and where they're real. And so watching Alex kind of become dropped down the rabbit hole of the world of spies and spycraft becomes kind of, I hope, something that we believe instead of something that just is presented.
Otto, I think obviously in terms of that process of becoming Alex Rider, he's recruited because he has this amazing, extraordinary set of skills. Can you tell us a little bit about your training and preparation, not just for the emotional side of the character, but particularly for all the daring physical deeds you're doing?
Of course, yeah. So I worked with a personal trainer for about 2 months. I picked up climbing, which became a love of mine now, and I go pretty regularly because I felt I needed to basically, it's good for choreography, it's good for body weight and just generally being able to scale things, and I had to scale a building in the show. So there was little things that I did. I'm quite athletic anyway. I go running, I swim, like I said, I go climbing and stuff. So I just did all of those things, but way more intensely. It's hard as well because when you're shooting from, you're picked up at 5:30 in the morning, you get home at 8 in the evening. So you don't really have time to do that kind of exercise. But the great thing was, playing Alex, I'm doing action every day. So I felt fit and I felt like I was becoming a better spy do you know what I mean? Like I was more equipped to do things by the end of shooting the series than I was at the beginning. And I think that's quite cool because you watch Alex get better and you watch me get better.
And so for people that grew up reading the Alex Rider books and then almost sort of grew past the age where like Alex stays sort of 15 years old, but now people have come in their 20s and stuff, how do you feel? I feel like it's a good fit now that he's been brought up sort of 16 years old for the TV programme to go with that older feel. How do you feel about your character being boosted beyond the age of his character in the stories for TV?
I was completely cool about that. I mean, I think, as I said downstairs, I couldn't have been happy with the choice of Otto to play the part. There were obviously good technical reasons for having somebody who was not under the age of 16. I think what they've done really, really well in this show is to create a character whose age is not necessarily defined. As I said, he is a teenager without being too precise about how old he actually is. So there are certain things he doesn't do, like for example, he never drives a car in the show. which would then somehow separate him from the character I created. He remains completely in the same field as that character. The age is just a little bit nudged forward, and of course the whole show is so much darker as well and so much more serious than the book itself and the source material. I think you just buy the fact that he's a little bit older than he was in my original work.
I'm just wondering, are there any challenges thrown up? Because obviously you made the show, but you haven't quite found a home for it yet. Are there any particular challenges for yourselves as program makers when you're making a show? Obviously, I'm sure it will obviously end up somewhere, but are there any particular challenges choosing something that doesn't have a home as yet?
Well, Guy will probably be able to give a better answer than me on that, but I will say this, that one of the reasons why I was very, very happy to work with and to give the option or sell the option to Sony was that they had such enormous faith in this book and in this project that they were willing to, gamble all the production costs and to make the show without having an actual platform, but in full confidence someone would be found.
What is it? It is that really. Sony have backed this all the way. It's their first television venture and they've fully funded it. So it shows tremendous confidence in the stories and in us. And now we're just at the start of the point of taking it out and showing it to people. The response we're getting at the moment is really exciting. So we're hopeful and feeling very positive actually.
Thank you.
Can I say something about that as well? Just being part of it and being there every day creating what's on the page, we felt as if there was a lot of freedom because we didn't have to stick to a template of what maybe a streaming service or someone had for the show. Like this, they would have said it has to be this, and this. And we probably had those things, but we felt very free. I think we didn't know what it was going to be until
just more liberating.
It was more liberating. We were finding it as we were making it, which I think is a great creative place to be.
Brilliant. Thank you.
No notes from people you've never met. Love it.
Yeah, question for Guy and for the cast as well. You base obviously your work on Anthony when you're writing the script. How much of your own did you put in it, and how much influence got the cast and the works?
It's based very closely on the story of the book. So the story of the book becomes the spine on which the series hangs. But there are 8 hours to fill, and the book is not 8 hours long. So there's plenty of room also to get me excited and to allow me to expand things. We talked all of that through, of course, because nothing that I've done hasn't passed by Anthony at some point. I think probably the biggest change that I made was introducing an entirely new character in the form of Kyra, who is a girl and who's Alex's age and who acts as a kind of counterbalance. There's a slight sense in the books that Alex acts on his own fairly exclusively, although there may be occasional girlfriends along the way. And I was very keen that we had a character that we could identify with who's female as well, and who's his age. We've got great female casting elsewhere in the show, of course. So in that sense, that area was covered, the old characters were covered. I wanted somebody who was a teenager as well.
Guy, just a follow up
sorry,
on
can I say that same question was for Cast?
Yeah, for Cast as well.
Thank you. Sorry, just...
how much input did you guys had on the script?
On the script, I mean, I learnt my lines.
And I appreciate that.
I was just saying actually in an earlier interview, it was very collaborative, and there are always moments naturally in majority of the jobs that you do where you get on set and because of location or because of something, that line might not work, or we're all trying to sort of figure it out. And Guy was brilliant at letting us be flexible with that. We're a brand new cast, and so being able to sort of collaborate with each other was brilliant. Everybody was up for it, and that's kind of the dream job in anything, because collaborating means you're going to create something that's brand new, that's not on the script, but only heightens it really. So that for me, from when I was on set, was pretty much every day. We was always collaborating, not always just changing lines, but just feeling the space. And there's a lot going on, there's a lot of adventure, and especially when you're doing scenes with Otto, there's something going on. So they were particularly fun.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on the previous question. With these characters that are so well loved and well known, has kind of like the fan reaction that these characters have received over the past few years in any way influenced how you've written them for the TV series?
Gosh, I'm not. I think probably no. That's not the place I wanted to go to. I don't think that one should, as it were, write to a reaction that you're hoping that you'll get. You have to write from the character and who you believe the character to be. And then if you're lucky, people love that. But there's a danger of feeling like you're kind of focus grouping your own work as you go. The only thing that does happen is that you sometimes see chemistry from your actors on screen as the rushes start coming in and thinking, I should be using this person more, I should be using this storyline more. And this is something that we have all felt, and we're kind of looking at sort of our thoughts on season 2 and beyond, and seeing, well, look, that person's really worth putting more firmly front and centre. That'll keep you all on your toes, I hope. Who is this person? No, it is just that. It's just getting that sense from the cast of how their characters are building. It's wonderful.
You were saying downstairs that obviously there's 14 books in the series, and the time span that the books cover is quite a lot shorter than real life. If you're lucky enough to go for 14 seasons, that's going to put you at a late 20s, early 30s potentially age of playing the same character. Is there any kind of consideration as to what might happen as Alex as a character kind of grows up, because obviously the actor is going to grow up, of course.
In my head, I'm not looking 14 series ahead. I am looking 2 or 3 series ahead, simply to try and get my head around what we would do with season 2, because I need to know what the roadmap is beyond that in order to make sure that what I'm planning in season 2 works off the page of Anthony's books and also through our own sort of serial arcs. I mean, I don't know. We were chatting about this in the car, weren't we? And in my head, I don't see any problem with Alex. With imagining Alex Rider at uni. Yeah, please. But let's see how we go.
It'll be a nice problem to have. What are we going to do with season 9, season 10? But it could go one of 2 ways. I mean, we could talk about Alex as at university, post-university, whatever, and go with him, or hope that Otto stays young. It's the other way of looking at it.
Get like a campaign with a really,
You get that. The first season has a plastic surgery.
Guys, we've just got 5 more minutes. Is there any cast questions specifically?
What is it like to work with Hains, and do you have any memorable moments with him on the set? Thank you.
I loved working with Haluk. He's a fantastic actor and has the most incredible voice, and he's just a joy to be around as a person. We showed a clip in the screening just earlier where Stellenbosch slaps me in the face, and he looks at me very intensely behind a desk and says, "Why do you think you're here, Alex?" And he's the perfect villain for this show.
And you're all brilliant at your characters already, we've seen that. But if you could swap character roles for one day with someone in the cast, who would you possibly like to swap with or have a go at?
Ooh.
Sorry, I feel
That really does.
I like Kyra or James. I'd love to say Tom, but I'm not a Tom. I mean, like Brennan's so good at it, you wouldn't want anyone else to play Tom.
But he's a fun character.
He's a fun character, yeah.
I think I wouldn't be able to play it, but
I'm sure you do a great job.
in a dream world, probably play Tom,
I think I'd play Stellenbosch. I like her.
Cool.
Yeah. I think
you couldn't be so horrible, could you?
Oh no. I'd love that.
She's a great character.
And would you like to play a character?
I want to be Alex, of course.